The beauty in being yourself is that you shine bright like a diamond, figuratively and literally, because that truth of ourselves is what comes from our hearts. And when the heart is open and soft, the light can radiate from it. That's also a really unique thing about this path. We say that everything we have is inside of us. And so some people might say, oh, well, why do I need this work? Well, because we have to unlock it. We have to access it because it's been put in a box. And so we need this process to literally be ourselves.
Before I began the mystery school, I looked at my life. I thought I had it all. Because from my field of reference, I somewhat did. I had a really great marriage, amazing friends. I didn't even realize how good it could be. And I was so humbled when that bar was moved, when the spectrum expanded, and realizing there was so much more.
We are who we are. Every initiation opened me up to another way to help, a deeper way to help, a broader way to help. And so I wasn't changing who I was necessarily. I was becoming more of what was already in me.
Somewhere deep within me knew there was something more. I had no idea how much more. I truly, truly didn't recognize how many limitations I was bringing into my own life. And now, living these tools, experiencing the shift of perception and the shift of all these different areas of my life, I realized that there really isn't any limitation, that the limitation is just within your mind. My name's Casey Lepper. I'm from Austin, Texas. I'm a psychotherapist, working primarily with couples and individuals.
I'm Zuyapa Jackson. I am a guide, a ritual master in the lineage. I was initiated in 2013, and I live in New Orleans, Louisiana. Yeah, I lived in New York for about 5 or 6 years. I moved there in 2007 from Prague, actually. I was modeling. And I was really in that world, living, the New York life. As a model, I was training in acting, doing some commercial work. I started working on music. I was writing screenplays. I was very much in the entertainment field. I really loved modeling. I have to be honest. I still model, and I like it. I love the artistry of it. I love being in front of a camera. I love performing. It's not really my natural way in my day-to-day life, but something in me turns on. So I also recognize that it's a part of me, like being expressive and being a part of creating beauty and magic. And at the same time, I never really felt like I fit in. I think I spent most of my life feeling like I didn't fit in wherever I was. And I've often thought that maybe that's because ethnically I'm a combination of things. But inside I feel like one of those, I don't want to say weird, but one of those people that, is different. And I think I always felt that. I'm living around the world, South Africa, I lived in Prague, Paris, Spain, all these places, and still something in me didn't really feel like I was me. In so many ways, I thought that I was being myself, but I actually wasn't being present.
I was in the midst of doing some of my own personal work, and it was work that I felt like I wasn't really getting to by talking to my therapist. I think the field transitioned in the 50s to a very behaviorist sort of perspective, and it was more geared to looking at what you could see, and if you could not see it, if you could not measure it, it did not exist.
We all have our problems, Tommy.
All of the many factors that make a person behave the way he does influence his participation with others.
And so that pushed the field towards a very materialistic approach. There's a lot of damage done when it veered that way. If it was not measurable, it was not shown to be important, even to the level of emotions. Emotions were almost too woo-woo or intangible to work with. And I realized that one person who showed up in my life was very intuitive. And so she was really, really helping me dive into aspects of my subconscious that I wasn't able to get to. I was starting to get a sense of something bigger, something more spiritual, something I couldn't physically hold, but something I was understanding to be more and more true. So I really love working with my psychotherapy clients in trying to give them process to control the mind in a way. But where I think it stops short is healing happens on so many levels, and we can't really transcend the mind and the pollution of the mind with the mind. You need something more. And that's where I felt like there was a stopping point for me. I was only able to think my way through certain aspects of myself. But when I got connected to my higher self and my real self and my spiritual self, I had a larger view. I had greater perspective and ability to see where I needed healing that I wasn't able to conceive of before. I felt this pull to go to Anaheim, California for a really big psychotherapy conference. And I spent 4 days learning from the people who I just thought were the most rock stars of the field. And all of them had the same theme, the same message. And it was, as a psychotherapy, psychological, psychiatric field, we were really missing our mark of how we could actually help people, and that we had to bring the soul back into the work, and that psychotherapia is actually the work of the gods healing the soul.
We heal because we're not okay. Everyone has a reason, whether they know what that reason is or not. But often it's something very specific and related to how we are engaging with life. Whether it's a trauma, a pattern, an emotion, an experience, it doesn't matter. Just like some people say, well, I'm okay. I don't have any traumas. My life has been fine. But really, why we heal is that simply by coming into the body, going through this experience, something has come up against your soul. And every single one of us has experienced something that made us feel or believe that we are less than the truth of our spiritual selves. The way I used to be, 'cause I had social anxiety. I would wake up in the morning and just be like, oh no, not again. I didn't have suicide ideations, but I definitely did not want to wake up in this body and have to do that life. I went through periods of bad insomnia, depression. I would kind of just chalk it up to being a creative person. That's how I write, or that's how I create, or, I would tell myself, I'm feeling this, but it's actually what everyone in the world is feeling. I'm feeling the world's pain, which may be true, but you don't have to fall under it. You can relate to what's happening in the world without being so affected by it. And I think about it sometimes, how I really used to be, not feeling safe to be as sensitive as I am, or not feeling safe to, express the way that I see things. But the inverse was repressing so much of me and feeling so depressed and not knowing what to do the next day, or having days go by without even realizing that they went by. I didn't even leave the house in a few days, that's not really a fun, joyful, beautiful way to live. But we've normalized that kind of thing because life is just hard. But it really doesn't have to be that hard. I was low and I couldn't find light, but it was trying to find me.
And so I felt like, because of my experience, plus the permission I received from the field, I just opened myself up to go to where I needed to go. And there was so many synchronistic, magical moments that led me to receiving my life activation. And I was all steam ahead because I received my life activation and I got the answer I needed, and basically broke into a million pieces and just spent a week crying, which I wasn't able to achieve beforehand. I wasn't able to get to the depths of the despair I was holding on to. And it really inspired me, and I wanted to give people that level of healing and awareness of who they really were, because so much of my cruelty, my insecurities fell away after stepping forward on the path to know thyself.
One of the really hard things about being on this path, it's the path of know thyself. So one of the difficult things is going through the process of accepting that you don't know who you are, and that your life is going to shift around that. On one hand, yes, of course we know who we are because we're living in our own lives and no one knows that but us. But the question is, do we know the quality, the truth and the expression and the experience of our spiritual selves, our soulful selves, integrated fully. So you can know who you are as a person in the world, or maybe for some people, they know who they are energetically and spiritually, but they don't function so well in the world. But how do we integrate and become one with our spirit and how our soul expresses creatively and vibrantly, and also how we are living our lives day to day?
The subconscious is the part of our being that's under our awareness. And so a very common imagery that's associated with the subconscious is that of an iceberg. And so our conscious mind would be the part of the iceberg that's above sea level that you're able to see. And the base, the 90% of that iceberg, is our subconscious, which is under the ocean. And so a lot of us only work and live day to day with 10% of our consciousness. Oftentimes, we think that that 10% is our entire life, but we don't realize that the base of our being, the base of our pollution and our programming, is part of that 90% that's under the surface.
I've been watching you with that kid a long time. You're demanding too much from him. Nobody can be perfect, so don't ride him so hard. When he does something you don't like, remember he's a person in his own right.
The way that I work with the subconscious in psychotherapy is a little challenging because I can only see what they show me. And so if they come in with like the problem that brought them into therapy, maybe it's low self-esteem. That is their conscious awareness. They're consciously aware that they have low self-esteem. And so one metaphor I like to use is the subconscious is like holding a beach ball under the ocean. Sometimes it's so deep that we have no perception, no understanding that it's there. When it gets close enough to the surface, we might be able to feel it. And finally, like when it pops up, we're able to work with it. People might feel that pull of, it's time for me to get help in some way. That could be when the beach ball is almost about to break the surface. And that's where psychotherapy has its place, in my opinion. So it's, I know there's an issue, let's discover the issue. Why I think it's so beautiful being able to weave psychotherapy with the metaphysical tools of the mystery school is because the tools allow more of the beach balls to come up. We're able to see and to actively bring up more of the subconscious material that's holding us down, that's keeping us stuck at a faster rate. And so when people go into Empower Thyself, you're able to see like how much your subconscious is steering the ship and how you can actively have rituals or tools or healings or initiations that allow you to see more of that landscape to where you're really moving the needle in a different direction. And it's about being able to understand more of who you are and more of who you aren't.
I did need to expand. I did need some other kind of opening because I was also in transition, and from living a very physical life, physical world life, to trying to become more of my true self. I found the mystery school on Facebook, which is a very unlikely story, but it's the truth. I was already doing some spiritual work and, working in energy healing and seeking for myself and doing some training. And so when I actually had my first sit down with Yoko, who's my guide, one of the first things she asked me is, what do you want? What do you really want in your heart and soul? And so in that room and being able to open up to her, I really released. And that really set me on a path of feeling like, oh, maybe I can have my heart's true desires. And then when I was in the Empower Thyself program, it wasn't necessarily anything in particular. I just knew that, oh, this is it. It was like when I had life activation, I woke up and realized, oh, this is what I was looking for to offer people. Or when I was sitting in Empower Thyself, I was like, oh, I'm a guide. That's what I've been trying to do all this time. So I was receiving really what I was looking for and always trying to figure out how to help people.
I would describe the tools that I utilize through the Modern Mystery School as multidimensional. They're transformational on many, many different levels. They can involve reason, but they're much more than that. That's an aspect of them. And they're magical in a way because they're not necessarily knowable of why specifically is this tool so powerful. So there's mystery involved with it. And I think they transcend our limited awareness in a way. And when I think about the tools of psychotherapy, they're very much within the realm of our awareness. They're studied, they're knowable to a degree. We understand why trauma is important. We can see the impacts of trauma on the brain and the body, and it's within our realm of consciousness. But of course, the famous quote of, we can't really solve a problem at the level of consciousness that was used to create it. The mystery school tools bring that to a whole different level. When I'm working with a psychotherapy client and we've reached a point where there feels like we've hit a plateau or a sense of stagnation, or I haven't been able to support them in moving in the way that I want them to move, I oftentimes bring up my experience with the mystery school and just talk to them about the life activation, or perhaps another healing, like a negative emotional release. And when I first was trained to give life activations, I was hesitant of how I was going to bring it into the office. But I had a client I was working with for many years, loved him. He just was very, very special to my heart. And he just found out that his husband was cheating on him. And he always felt like he was going to kill himself. That was just part of his story. And when he came into my office and said the discovery that he made, and that was the only thing holding him to this world, and that was it. And I said, well, I have this one tool. Let's just try it, and whatever happens, but let's just try this. He was a very magical human in and of himself, and so he was open. And we did it. He missed his follow-up session and told me that he'd call me if he survived. So I just sat there waiting, checking the obituaries. And finally, he reached out and said that for the first time in a long time, he felt hope. There's obviously some potential that opened up in him to where he could feel hope. And that discovering that his husband was cheating on him, it was actually a new beginning. After that, that was the story. That's the experience I found. And I thought, I can't hold this in. And so I just offer it as a potential. And 99% of my clients take it, and it just shifts them.
When I initiate someone, I see them begin the process of letting go concepts of who they think they were. So things get a little bit easier. They soften. For some people, life flows a bit smoother. They take care of themselves a little bit better. Their energy uplifts. They look lighter and cleaner energetically. They're able to take more ownership of who they are and how they express themselves. And in that, they feel more joy. I think that's the key, that people find more joy because they're then able to feel lighter. Anything that has taken us away or distracted us or is keeping us from feeling that lightness, the ease in the heart, the lightness of being is what needs healing. And so for some people, it might start out with you having to heal something in your physical body because it's so distracting, you can't think about anything else. You may have to heal something in your psyche or your emotions because it's so distracting and you're so low that you can't even fathom the potential that you can experience. And for some people, they know that there's more because they can feel it deep inside. And so they just need to heal that disconnection between, their divinity and the way they're playing it out in their life. It really doesn't matter the starting point. The essence of it is still the same. Truly being yourself, it's not just the personality. It's not just, the physicality. It's the true essence of being where your light can actually shine through and show your beauty. I think that's also the key to beauty. Because yes, physicality is important, but we all know beautiful people and beautiful things that are still empty. It's like nature. Nature is imbued with energy. And so we can look at a flower, we can look at an animal and see beauty in it because it's not just the physical thing. We know that it's imbued with energy, but we don't look at ourselves the same way. We look at ourselves as just being physical or having the energy to work or the energy to get this thing done without the realizing that we also have the essence of energy simply to be, and that is also valuable and needs nurturing and cultivation. And I think that's really what we're healing.
In general, the biggest pattern I noticed when someone's received a life activation is that the place where they were stuck becomes unstuck. And so in general, I can work with someone who has low self-confidence, and then I've never heard them say anything positive about themselves. In the session after the life activation, they say something positive about themselves. Another tendency that I see with a lot of people is after the activation, they feel like they can separate themselves from their thoughts and their patterning more. I see when this happens, I would ordinarily react this way, but I chose the other way. So it creates this pause or this space or this awareness of how they do have the ability to control some of their reactions, some of their thoughts, and some of their minds. And I also hear a lot of people, whether they believe in the spiritual realm or not, feeling much more connected. And so sometimes they'll use the language of connected to God or connected to their higher self, or even more connected to nature. It's higher than we're able to really conceive of. And so I think there's a limitation within the psychotherapy tools because the spiritual world in and of itself is much more mysterious. And it's good to be mysterious and to not understand every aspect of it. Why to have some uncertainty and mystery in our lives is because it keeps the potential open at all times. The second everything is known, there's no more potential, that all the possibilities exist. And so I think having an aspect of mystery within our own life and within healing, within our understanding, keeps the potential open, thus keeps more possibilities open.
I'm really glad that I found the path. I'm really glad that I had that life activation and that Yoko sat down with me multiple times to make me feel safe enough to do it. And I was able to wake up to myself. I am so glad that I took that next step and went to Empower Thyself and was able to remember what my soul wanted to do here in this life. And I'm so glad for every other step that I pushed myself to. I'm so grateful that Sovereign System has supported me in my ritual master journey. So much support that I'm beyond grateful for the way showers, those who also hold the light on the path so that we can walk it and know there's another step and know what's next. So how do you know without a reflection? But who is really living divine? Like, where are our archetypes or our examples? Because now they're even getting vilified. Anyone who stands up as being, a person of character, or a person of integrity, a person of mission, gets crucified for who they aren't, instead of being able to, show it as an example of a potential of who we all can be. And so I think without having modern day heroes, so to speak, modern day heroes who are integrated and aligned and who are showing the world what we're capable of if we are embodied spiritually. And one of the things, a thing that I really love about being a part of the lineage and the mystery school is that there's so many examples, from the teachers to the lineage holders, to my peers, to the people who come in for healing, the people who trust me to support them.
Being able to be with the people I love the most and connect with and just live in this state of harmony at all times. So with my husband and my child and my friends, to be able to live in this place of beauty and harmony and in full acceptance with everyone who comes in. And to be able to look at other people and see that that's just the state of being for everyone. That there's this family and that everyone feels like family and everyone's willing to support each other. It's that everyone's just treating each other with respect and love. The way that we handle each other being so loving and patient and kind and respectful, and to have that ripple out to every single being.
Every single person is on the path. And every single person has a unique expression. And so whatever point any of us are at in that expression, it's an example that unique expression matters. Unique expression is important, and unique expression is beautiful. That is the beauty, and that is inspiring. It inspires me to go out and do more. People who all come together because they want to share something good and beautiful, and they work through their own stuff. They do it when it's hard. They do it when they may not even want to. That's inspiring. That helps me, and that's something that I want to keep showing, that I'm not perfect. I'm forever learning, journeying, doing. But I am also always still here to help and support and serve.
My favorite thing about the mystery school is that it will never end. That I'll never get bored. That I don't think I will ever know everything. And to me, that's deeply humbling and deeply exciting.